um, result of test carried out by a guy named Thanos. I don't know if that's his real name, but that's his username on Aussiefrogs. I mentioned it correctly. Thanos, that's his name. So he posted this dyno test of how fan can drain power from 504. And of course, when we mention 504, we're also regarding or referring to 505. So, as you can see, the engine RPM, then electromagnetic fan running. Electromagnetic fan is actually a mechanical fan that is electrically triggered or powered on or off. So you can regard this as because it's attached on the water pump, but it spins freely when it's not powered. So it doesn't really spin with the water pump pulley, but it kind of spins freely. But once it's not powered, then it spins constantly with the water pump pulley. So the higher the RPM, the faster it spins. Um, while the other one is electric fan on the other side of the table, electric fan running with the electromagnetic fan removed. So let's just call the electromagnetic fan, let's just call it mechanical fan, while the other is electric fan, so it doesn't confuse. Um, so now look at the RP number one at 4,000 RPM. When the mechanical fan is running with the electric fan off, the engine in a 504, he didn't state the maximum power the engine possess or the engine model anyway, but he said what the maximum power will be 101 bhp, brake horsepower. So um while on the electric fan you get 105 brake horsepower. At 4,500 RPM you get 111 bhp with the mechanical fan. So there's a little bit increase in power, while with only the electric fan running you get 116. 5,000 RPM you get 120 horsepower as increase. Then with the electric fan you get 127. Now 5,500 RPM you get 122 bhp with mechanical fan. In that case you can see at 5,500 RPM the power increase has actually reduced, not that much anymore. However, with the electric fan you get 130, so the increase is not as much as well. But it's still higher. The power it got with electric fan at the 5,500 RPM, it got like additional 3 horsepower, while mechanical fan only got 2. Now number 5, 6,000 RPM, you can see the power starts dropping as RPM start going higher. With the mechanical fan it dropped from 122 to 114 horsepower, brake horsepower. Then with the electric fan it drops from 130 to 124. Now 6,500 RPM it drops way down to 102 horsepower, almost where it started from 4,000 RPM. So while electric fan only it drops at 113 horsepower. So as you can see, with this test you can tell that in as much as you get a point from 5,500 RPM, it won't really make much power anymore with the engines. It's just I didn't state which engine model that this was tested on. It could be carburetor, maybe not. I don't know. It wasn't stated. Of course, I think it was a Rally 504. So it was like well, I mean 504 built for sports, but he was using it for rally. So my point is, you can tell the difference when only electric fan is running and when only mechanical fan is running. So with the electric fan, there is more power to the engine unleashes or increases power that goes to the wheel with the electric fan, because this mechanical fan that is attached on the water pump on this 504 505, I know you don't even need this dyno test from Thanos to know, unless you are not really that observant behind the wheel. You can tell how much it drains the power of the engine as IPM climbs up, because remember, is attached on the water pump pulley, and the crankshaft pulley is what basically the crankshaft is what is driving the water pump. So the more you increase the RPM, the more the drag, because now the fan blade has to force itself through the air as the crankshaft is moving. So it's dragging the crankshaft as you are accelerating more. So crankshaft struggles more to be able to spin the water pump. So all these things will affect the power. And for me, I believe, in as much as I don't have any, well, depending on engine, for 505 V6, I can say that, because it kind of reduces the fuel consumption. Because it's very obvious to any technical mind that the less the engine struggles, the less fuel it consumes. So if you use only electrical fan on your Peugeot 504, 505, your fuel consumption will not be as high as person using mechanical fan. It will not be. The electric fan will consume less than the mechanical fan. But this video is not necessary for fuel consumption, but the power drain. Both fan will drain the power, at least at some point, once the RPM gets to the peak. It's pointless to keep accelerating from 5,000. Well, it all depends on the engine anyway. But at least even before it gets there, one will give you more power. In other words, it's not as if the engine doesn't have these powers already, but one will restrict that engine power. It won't allow the power of the engine, the full engine power, to come out of the engine, or to be able to send those power to the wheels. That's the point. Or at least to the flywheel. Let's not say, oh, but crankshaft, flywheel power is different from the wheel power that gets to the wheels. Fine, I get that. But I say at least the flywheel power, will it be able to get to that bhp? Like you can see, 130 horsepower for the electric farm maximum, while the mechanical farm is 122. For a car like 504, 505, that's a lot. That additional 8 horsepower, trust me, it will be a lot. Because, like I said, they don't necessarily have that much power. These four cylinder, apart from those turbocharged ones, they don't really, or the V6, their power is not that much. So no matter how small it is, even if additional 5 powers, I mean, trust me, you feel the difference. And of course, this will also have effect on the torque the engine produces. I mean, these two fan tests, mechanical and electrical. So I know each time I say that, people always say, "Oh, but no, it doesn't really have much." Trust me, I have one. My 505 V6 had a mechanical fan before. In fact, this is like the third type of fan I've used on the car. The first one was viscous mechanical fan. It's not electromagnetic. The viscous one it's not electronically controlled, but it works like those electronically controlled one. So that one failed. So I now did a permanent mechanical fan, locked it to the water pump, just like we have in 504, 505, 404 sold here in Nigeria, or at least assembled or produced here in Nigeria. They all have their fans locked to the water pump, which is even worse than this electromagnetic fan, because electromagnetic fan, when the fan is not running, you may even get to the same power with the electric fan, but as soon as it comes up, it becomes a problem. Immediately will drop the engine power way much lower than the electric fan. So I've used that mechanical fan, it even made it worse until I now converted it to electric fan. Trust me. That's why when I call the car a maniac version of 505, I know what I'm saying. With this mechanical electric fan now, oof, less resistance on the engine. So I know for a fact. And even the 505, I've also used it on the carburetor engine. I did it once, you know. So I've already planned to do it on my ST. So it's not like I'm trying to seek for validation to do it. No, I'm just telling other people who probably don't know. Now, this is somebody who did a dyno test, who actually took it to where they tested both, and electronically were able to pull the power figures from the test, and he shared it with us in 2011. I saw it back then. Those are one of the reasons that inspired me to convert mine to uh, electric fan. I try to make the viscous mechanical fan work. You know, at least it will behave like electromagnetic fan, so you won't have much strain or drag on the engine compared to the mechanical one locked. I tried it, tried to find another good replacement. I got one, I think because it was used, mounted it. It was even worse than the one I removed. The one I removed was actually working. It was working, it was still doing its work, but the problem was the bearing has failed, so it was very noisy. So, but in terms of work, it was still working. It magnets and does its work. It was doing its work at that time. The car wasn't overheating, nothing. Only that once it picks up, comes on, wow, you can barely hear anything inside the car. So it was just a question of time. The fan will just the bearing will scatter. So I didn't want to get to that point. So I had to look for another used one. I couldn't get new one. That one was just spinning freely. That it doesn't work. It wasn't working anymore. I think there's a fluid inside that clutch assembly. It doesn't that it dried out or something. I can't remember what happened. The one I got, it was just spinning freely. So the car even started overheating. I had to take it back. There was no other one. I locked it. I went and locked the fan to the pump. Now, for people who now say sound, yeah, the mechanical fan produces a kind of sound, you know, um, yeah, which can be interesting at on higher RPM. Um, but what I will tell you, at low RPM, they all sound the same. With or without mechanical fan, we won't know any difference. The thing is, these engines have that agricultural sound. It doesn't matter whether you have the fan there or not. The only thing the fan does is at higher RPM, it now introduce another kind of harsh sound. Is you could say a little bit aggressive. But one thing I noticed about especially the four-cylinder one, um, the aggressiveness doesn't really match the performance per se. You know, it sometimes tends to be too harsh, unnecessarily too harsh when you press it harder. So I'm not condemning it. No, I'm not. What I would say for me is, when it comes to sound, if I want that aggressive sound, I have my 505 VCs for that. So that's why I'm not so bothered to miss that sound on the ST, the carburetor four-cylinder one. I have a one that if I enter, man, you know that aggressive roar is there. Even without the mechanical fan. Right now, since 2011, I've been driving the car with electric fan. Never overheated or caused any issue. Still there, running. So, um, so I have that. So for the ST, yeah, I'll convert and then observe, see what happens. Um, so you gain two things by converting to electric fan. Um, Number one, you get more power, more engine power to the waves with the electric fan. Number two, um, chances you fuel consumption will improve just a little. It will consume less. It might not be that significant enough for you to observe. It depends. When you try it, you see. It might not be that significant, but there will be an improvement. However, how small it is, could be something. People like me, I don't care. I just want performance. So I mean, it's not a big deal to me. Whether I gain the lesser fuel consumption or not, it's irrelevant. It's just that additional power I get to enjoy driving such cars. Um, it could be something you may like, you know. And the only downside I think I will see from that is like the sound. Most people like. Some people say they like it. Let me tell you another way you can test it, because sometimes people don't. When your engine is cold, take maybe if you don't know how to remove that mechanical fan blade by yourself, take it to a workshop, let the engine cool down. Then have your mechanic technician remove that mechanical fan blade. Start the vehicle. When your temperature is still cold, you don't necessarily need the fan at that time. Start the car, let the engine warm up maybe 2-3 minutes. Even when the engine is hot, you can start it. See, it doesn't matter. Engine will just start overheating immediately after a minute of running. In fact, drive the car sef when the engine is still hot, remove the fan blade. Don't even wait for the engine to cool down, because this test you need to do, you need the engine to be hot or warm for you to, because you need to accelerate hard. So start the engine without the mechanical fan. After like let's assume the engine is already hot. After like 5 seconds, by that time the engine oil must have circulated well. I don't like the idea when you start the engine immediately, you press the throttle down. Don't do it. Start it, let the RPM go up, come down, settle. Few seconds later or close to a minute, then you can now push out. Press the throttle almost, if not close to the floor. Without that mechanical fan, listen to the sound. Are you okay with that? Or like I said, as you have, just do it gradual. You see from starting off maybe up to 3,000 RPM or so, it will still sound the same. It won't be different between with the mechanical fan or without mechanical fan. But when you start shooting up, then you no longer hear that higher coarse, harsh sound that with the mechanical fan. You won't get that. You just rev evenly. But do it. Like I said, you still will not lose that agricultural sound. That's how they sound. You can never change that 504, 505 sound. Even VCs, they all sound the same. The only difference with VCs, it has its own kind of aggressive sound. But at lower RPM, they sound the same. Until you start climbing up, the VC will start sounding differently. So try it first. If you don't like the sound, maybe you return your mechanical fan, but at least understand this is what we are losing. You are losing this by using this fan. Now somebody say, oh, but it might cause overheating. See, let me explain something. You see that mechanical fan, it actually causes more, it can actually cause overheating than the electric fan. Trust me. Mechanical fan, what I've observed is at lower RPM, at idle, you are in a traffic and the sun is very hot and everything. If your 504 or 505 has temperature gauge, just be observant and be looking at it. You see the temperature will start going up, going up, going up. Your fan is spinning though. Remember, it's mechanical, so it's not as if it will stop. You just keep spinning, spinning, spinning. You see temperature going, going, going. Unless the traffic is not that bad, as in it moves slowly. But if you stay there for too long, you start climbing up, start climbing up, start climbing up. Not necessarily to go above 90, but you see it will come up a little as it used to be, as in when you are in motion, you see it will come up. Unlike the electric fan that, yeah, what happened in that case, it will come up. But what will now happen once you, because you run the, when you are connecting electric fan, you run it to, you do the connection to work like modern EFI system, engine cool system. That it doesn't need to spin constantly with the ignition or engine running. There's a switch on the radiator that you can run that connection with um, to work that way. So it can run it, do it for the fan to come up at 80 degrees Celsius, 75 degrees Celsius. It will come up and stay on. When the temperature comes down, it goes off again. That's the advantage of electric fan, unlike mechanical fan that keeps spinning. Electromagnetic fan does the same like electric fan. The only difference is attached on the water pump, while the electric fan, you just mount it behind the radiator. So it works freely off the engine, you know. Actually, it has its own drag on the engine, but not much, because when it comes up, the alternator will feel it a little, because alternator, remember, I have to introduce the relay to power the fan. So that relay will be a load on the alternator when it comes up. So alternator will feel that load a little. It will be a little bit draggy, but not as draggy as the mechanical fan on the water pump. So test it, do it, press the throttle, hear the sound. If they are to confirm what I just told you. Like I say, I'm not saying it will sound all way aggressive from low RPM to higher RPM. No, the lower RPM will sound, you hear the engine sound, nothing. But as it start climbing up, you might now start hearing something different. Or it won't sound that aggressive that you may like anymore. But me, I don't really, that four cylinder, even with that fan, especially when I'm in motion, push it that hard. I'm not sure I do enjoy that. That is, go and test a iPhone 5 V6. You know the difference. You know the difference. So I'm not sure. I won't really miss it. It's not as if it's not there. But to me, once I inside the vehicle, who are you trying to impress anymore? You are now sacrificing the power you are supposed to enjoy to impress people around, because those are the only people that will actually enjoy, not necessarily you already inside the car. It doesn't really sound, trust me, if you're inside the car in motion, it doesn't sound as great as when you're outside. That's something people who don't know. You see, I've been using 504 since the 90s. I started driving, so it doesn't sound as great as when you are inside. No, when you are outside. Outside, it sounds much better. Inside, the motion, not really. I'm talking about four cylinders with those mechanical fan attached. Not. Especially at higher RPM, it doesn't. This is 505, yes. That one is just I don't always want to compare, because that's just a different animal on its own. In terms of the way the engine sound, that PRV is something else. So um but um so if your worry is temporary, it might overheat. Trust me, it's even better. It will cool your engine better than the mechanical. The way that mechanical was is when the car is now in motion, you're accelerating. That's why sometimes you realize that, like, the only people, reason most people don't know this, because most 504, their temperature gauge don't work. They don't even have. Especially the ones sold in assembled in Nigeria. Most, if not majority, did not have coolant temperature gauge or water temperature gauge from new. So you even understand all these things I'm saying. If not, I will tell you, at idle, once you tune your carburetor well, not people that will tune the carburetor high so that it can be able to run with the AC and the rest. No, I'm saying tune it so low that it doesn't go off. It stays around maybe 800, 700 RPM at idle. What you notice is, if you stay too long, hot afternoon without AC, especially without AC running, because if your AC is running, the electric fan in front actually will not let the temperature come up. But without AC, you realize that when you stay in a traffic jam for a long time, 5 minutes or so, you don't notice your temperature get, you see it coming up, coming up, coming up, coming up. You may not necessarily get big. Then after a while, you may notice your engine sound will start going higher. Even though you're not accelerating, it will be climbing up a little, as if someone is accelerating your car. That's how they behave, you know. But if the electric fan, before it even gets to time, it will come up immediately, spin, 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 bring it down again, then it goes off. It will come up, come up, come up as it gets. But this one will just keep going, going, no regulation. So the only way now for you to regulate, to be able to bring the temperature down or keep it from not going too high, is to now press the throttle to increase the rotation of your fan blade, since it's mechanical. So your water pump needs to spin faster now. So you have to, even though you're at traffic, you now have to press your throttle so that your fan will start spinning faster. So in other words, you're accelerating your vehicle. Or you now have to go and increase the idle speed, so that even when you're not accelerating, it stays higher, so that your fan's the blade can be spinning constantly and actually do the sucking of heat from the radiator, compared to when it's at lower RPM. In that case, it doesn't really pull or suck much air from or suck heat from the radiator that much. But most Nigerians too may not understand, because when you run with two head gaskets on your cylinder head, your engine tends to cool more. It tends to, not tends, it's a fact. The temperature of your engine stays lower than the one with a single head gasket or one head gasket. So in that case, you might not really experience that. But I challenge you, go and install coolant temperature gauge on your 504 or 505 that doesn't have, or that is not working. You observe what I'm telling you with your mechanical fan. You see that. You see what I'm saying. At traffic, but with electric fan, you will see, you will just come up maybe 80, 90. Before it gets to 90, you see it coming down again. Or at 90 to come down. You just maintain that. You can't even go above what you're supposed to be. Unless you are using AC. In that case, even if it's mechanical fan, if you put on your AC, that your fan in front of condenser will come up. It actually pushes air through the condenser to the radiator, so you won't really see the temperature coming up like that. It stays normal temperature. This is something I experienced. At least I run thermostat on my engine cooling system, on my AC, so I can tell you that for sure. Okay, so the point of this, as you can see, this is something I prepared. I'm not the IP owner of this, so that's why I put the person's name, Thanos. I don't know if that is his original or actual name, but that is his username on Aussiefrogs. It's a forum. So he published it in 2011, 1st of December 2011. So I just wanted to share. So that's it. You can screenshot this so that this can be a guide for you. Can be a guide. And okay, so like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.